Okay, welcome. My name is Jasmine Gripper. I'm the co-director of the New York State Working Families Party. And we are here because we are fighting to put money back into people's pockets. We know that there's a huge affordability crisis happening in New York right now, and that we're in the middle of the state budget negotiations. The governor has attempted to put forward some proposals to put money back in people's pockets, but we need her to go even further. She has proposed enhancing the child tax credit, which we believe is a good step in the right direction, but an even better step in the right direction would be the working families tax credit. That's right. The governor, just to give you a comparison, the governor's child tax credit would move the maximum amount from $300 to $1,000 per child, but the working families tax credit would go from $300 to $1,600 per child. So more money in people's pockets. The governor's max credit only goes for children who are 1 through 4, and then after 4-year-olds, you hit a cliff and you go back down to a lower credit, where the working families tax credit includes all children up to 17 at the higher amount. The governor also excludes 17-year-olds completely from her tax credit. So what we're saying is that we need to put real money into people's pockets. We need to do it now. We cannot wait. And the way to do it is to pass the working families tax credit so that we can give a quarterly payment to families to really help them deal with the high cost of childcare, the high cost of groceries, the high cost of rent. And we need to act with urgency. And the Working Family is proud to be in partnership with the New York Immigration Coalition to get this done. And I welcome my co-facilitator, Ace.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you all. As stated, my name is Ace Sutherland. I have the honor of being the Director of Organizing and Strategy at the New York Immigration Coalition. And I think most importantly, I love to say this part, I am an immigrant myself. I came to this country a couple years ago. And I'm also a queer, trans identifying person, my pronouns are they, them, that wants to have a family one day. So when I advocate for things like this, I advocate for my future as well, so I can be able to give back to my family and my intended children. And with that, I want to also uplift and highlight the organizations that are here with us that have continuously fought for the Working Families Tax Credit over the last few years. We, of course, have the New York Working Families Party. Clap it up. We have the Immigration Research Initiative. Clap it up. We have the Children's Agenda. Where's Pete? Clap it up. Local Progress. We are revolutionary. United Neighborhood Houses. The Schuyler Center for Analysis and Advocacy. Fifth Avenue Committee. Are there any orgs that I missed today that are here? Come on, Vocal New York, yes, of course. So as you can see, we have a diverse group of organizations that are working on behalf of working families, right? We may not all be parents, but we're here to fight on their behalf as we continue this legislative session. So with that, I want to pass it over to our first speaker, Murad.
How's everyone feeling today? We can do better than that. We're fighting for the Working Families Tax Credit. How's everyone feeling today? Good afternoon. My name is Murad Ouda. I'm the president and CEO of the New York Immigration Coalition. It is my pleasure to be here with you all. And I'm here to deliver one simple message. And that message is that New York's working families deserve so much better. Every single one of our families that calls this state home is struggling right now. We are all here because we believe our tax system should support every family, and not just the wealthy or the corporations. Making sure that we are demanding action in this budget cycle for the Working Families Tax Credit is the floor of what we can be doing in the great state of New York. New York's economy is currently failing working families, and it continues to fail those who are struggling the most. 40% of those who are leaving the state of New York are working families, and the number one reason why they're leaving is they cannot afford to stay here. 50% of working-age New Yorkers are struggling to cover their basic needs. Compared to 10 similar U.S. cities, Albany, Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo have child poverty rates double the average for their comparable cities. Syracuse has the highest child poverty rate in the nation. In fact, nearly 1 in 5, I know, it's upsetting, nearly 1 in 5 New York children live in poverty. Yet too many families are left out of our tax relief programs. The unjust structures of our current tax system penalizes low and middle income families and punish people working hard to try to make ends meet. This is wrong, and this has to change this year. We are here to fix this together today by demanding the passage of the Working Families Tax Credit now. The Working Families Tax Credit is better, stronger, and a fairer version of a tax credit for families. And I know, and we applaud the governor for introducing her own version of the inflation tax credit, but that's not good enough. And it's not good enough because it does not go as far as we need it to go. And that's why we're fighting for the Working Families Tax Credit. And that's why we need the Working Families Tax Credit. It actually puts more dollars in pockets of parents across the state. For the first time, this tax credit would include families in the lowest income brackets and provide up to $1,600 per child and indexed to inflation. And more importantly, it's available to all tax filing families, regardless of their immigration status. And many immigrant workers pay taxes but don't qualify for any of the tax credits currently in place right now. This is an unfair and unjust system. This bill is about real people, real families, and real futures. We need a tax system that works for everyone who calls New York home, and we're gonna fight for that today, tomorrow, and until it gets done this session. So our message is clear. We need and we demand the Working Families Tax Credit, and we're taking that message not just to the Senate and the Assembly, but also to the governor's front door. And we're gonna make sure that we get this done with no delays, no half measures, and no family left behind. This is our chance to prove that in our great state of New York, we put families first. All of our people deserve the support when they're needing a little bit of help. So I want to thank everyone for being here, and I want to thank our champions. I want to thank Senator Gounardes and Assemblymember Hevesi and all of our champions who are standing with us here today, and I'll kick it back, but thank you all.
No family left behind. No family left behind. So as Murad mentioned, this is not a one part of the state issue. This is a statewide issue. Child poverty is plaguing New York State, and this is something we need to take serious and get done. Next, we'll have Assemblymember Jen Lunsford.
Thank you so much. I come to you from the Rochester area, where we have the highest number of children living in extreme poverty. That's not a fight I want to get into with Syracuse about which of our children are poorer, but it's unfortunately statistics that we share. 1 in 10 kids in the Rochester City School District is housing insecure. But over in my district, a suburban resource district, we have families where one parent can't return to work because they can't afford childcare. I myself pay $8,000 a year for an 8-year-old in aftercare and school break and summer programs. That's not right. It's not affordable for most families. My kid wants to play soccer. He wants to be active, and we have to make choices even in my resourced family because of the high cost of caring for kids that aren't even in daycare anymore. You know, the reality for people in my district is they might not be living paycheck to paycheck, but they're 3 paychecks from disaster. They can afford a flat tire, but not a broken transmission. And when you're looking at someone who is 1 illness away from disaster, $1,000 extra makes all the difference. It can make the difference between a 2-income family and a 1-income family. It can make the difference between kids getting into enrichment programs and kids not. So when we talk about what our families need, it's not just about poverty. It's about making things a little bit easier for everyone. And I believe this tax credit is exactly what New York needs at this moment to lift people up, to make things more affordable, and to build our communities into something better than we even dreamed they could be. Thank you very much. Let's get this passed this year.
I'm going to keep this in Rochester and welcome Assemblymember Harry Bronson.
All right. Always a pleasure to follow my good friend, Assemblymember Lunsford. So the Assemblymember started to talk a little bit about our hometown, Rochester. Let me give you some more statistics. In the city of Rochester, close to 1 in every 2 children is living in poverty. And the Rochester City School District, a student population of roughly 22,000 students. On any given day, 2,000 of those students are living homeless. In the city of Rochester, a 15-minute drive results in a life expectancy of 10 years less. The causes of this is very complex, but it includes the lack of nutrition, the lack of affordable health care, the inability to provide for your family. When we talk about people living in poverty, oftentimes people envision this idea that they're not working families. That's not true at all. The vast majority of the people in New York State who are living in poverty are people who work every single day, usually in 2-income households, and they still can't provide for their families. That ain't right. What is right is the Working Families Tax Credit. If you want to address affordability in New York State, then what you've got to do is really simple. It's called put more money in the pockets of the family of New Yorkers. The way we put back money, and as labor chair, I got to say it, we got to raise the wages of the working family. But as we work on that, we need to make sure we pass the Working Families Tax Credit so that these families are able to keep more of their money. And one of the beautiful things about the tax credit is, unlike many tax credits where, you wait until you file, for this year, you file in 2026, you have to wait a whole year. This provides for quarterly payments to our family. So it's putting money in their pockets when they need it. When they need to buy food, when they need to pay the rent or pay the mortgage, when they need to pay a copay for a doctor's visit, when they need to take their child for some therapy and some emotional health. That's what this tax credit is about. It's not just dollars and cents. We talk a lot about affordability. This is about quality of life for our working New Yorkers. We've got to pass this tax credit. Let's do it this year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember Bronson. It's an honor to be here and stand next to you. I know I've done a lot of work with you in the LGBT fight, and I think it's important to say that families look all types of ways, right? Y'all are gonna hear me talk about it again and again. I am gonna be that trans, non-binary person that does not stop talking about my community and the fact that we're included in something like this. Thank you, thank you. It's important to make sure that when we advocate for anything, we realize that we're advocating on behalf of all New Yorkers and not just one type of a New Yorker. And I think that's something that we left with from meeting with one of our sponsors today, Senator Gounardes. We talked heavily about how we can keep New Yorkers in New York. So please help me in welcoming our champion, Senator Gounardes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I was really struck by what both the previous two speakers spoke about when they talked about what's happening in the city of Rochester. Here's a fact. 3 out of the top 10 cities in the United States of America for child poverty are right here in New York State. That is criminal. That is criminal. Children going to sleep hungry. Families don't know where they're going to they can put a roof over the heads of their kids. unable to pay a medical bill, unable to deal with a family emergency. In a state as wealthy as New York, in a state as rich as New York, as a state as generous and well-resourced as New York, as a state with a proposed budget of $256 billion, the fact that we have kids who go to sleep hungry every night is a crime. And it leads to one important truth. You should not have to be a millionaire to raise a family in the state of New York. You should not have to be a millionaire to raise a family in the state of New York, but that's where we are. And that's where we're going towards right now. Because whether you live in Rochester or Syracuse or Buffalo or Brooklyn, where I'm from, or anywhere in between, we know that the struggles that families are facing continue to grow day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And just giving them a few crumbs is not going to help them change their lives. It's not going to allow us to fight child poverty and reduce child poverty like we did during the American Rescue Plan under President Biden, where we cut the poverty rate by 50% in this country overnight because we did this radical thing. We gave families money. We gave them money in their pockets every single month so that they can pay for food, clothing, medicine, school supplies. God forbid a family wants to go to an amusement park or a zoo or take a trip as a family like anyone else should and have a right to do. That's how we change the trajectory of families' lives in this state. That's how we make this state a place where people want to raise a family, not a state that drives families out because they can't afford the crushing costs of everyday life. And that's why I believe so passionately and so fervently about the promise of the Working Families Tax Credit, which will allow us to reduce deep child poverty by nearly 25%, reduce child poverty by nearly 18%, and help us grow our working class and middle class so that families will be able to thrive. You've already heard the details, up to $1,600 per child, paid out quarterly, rises with inflation. What does that mean for an actual family? So right now, let's take a family of four that makes $65,000 a year. Put them anywhere in New York State. That's your average working class family. Under current law, they only receive $660 in family tax credits. That's a pittance. Under what the governor's proposed, if one of those children is under the age of 4, that family would get $1,500, an improvement. But under the Working Families Tax Credit, that family would get nearly $3,500. That is a game changer. That's not paying half a utility bill. That's being able to provide kids with a future. And that's why this is so important. And that's why I'm so proud of the coalition that we've built from all across this state, with all of my colleagues who are here to support this, of the work that we are trying to do to say with one voice that we do not and we will not continue to be a state that leads the nation in child poverty. We do not and will not continue to be a state that continues to see an exodus of families from our state. And we do not and will not continue to be a state that thinks that the solution to our affordability crisis is just the crumbs that fall off the table. Never was okay, not okay, never will be okay, and when we pass the Working Families Tax Credit in this year's budget, we're going to make that go away. Thank you very much, everyone.
We appreciate Senator Gounardes speaking as a dad in office and fighting for his family and the families across New York State. And I'm going to invite Assemblywoman JGR to come up, who fights as a mom in office for all of our families.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Assemblymember Jessica Gonzalez Rojas. I use she, her, ella pronouns, and I'm so proud to stand here as a representative of a working class, diverse community in Queens. And this is a community that has given so much to the state of New York. We have an immigrant population from every corner of the world. We have queer and trans communities that are out fighting for their communities and their lives. We have working class New Yorkers that are contributing to the city and the state of New York. But I'm here mostly proud as a mom who understands the realities that families are facing right now, We're hearing about the millionaire and billionaire class growing, and then, as the senator said, we're hearing about people leaving. It is not the millionaires and billionaires who are leaving. It is the working class families that can no longer afford to live in this state. The working families tax credit will be a game changer. This will be something that would allow our hardworking families to live, grow, raise their families and communities, and be able to participate in the fruits of our state. And I'm so proud to stand here with a diverse coalition that's reflective of my own community to say that we need to get this bill passed this year. This is an opportunity. We've heard from the election. We know that we have to focus on the issues of working class families. And we have done this for a long time. And we have lots and lots of ideas to advance policies that will truly, truly help working class families. But this, as others have said, is a game changer. It is sustainable. It is something that will help families throughout their lives here, and will allow us to continue to build and grow our working class communities here in New York State. So I'm proud to stand here and support this alongside our working class communities, our families, our immigrant rights organizations, our LGBT organizations, because that's who we are as New York. Right? So let's get this done. Let's get it done now. We have a bill that we're fighting for, a budget that's due April 1st, and this must be included. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, JGR. It's always an honor. With that, I would like to welcome up Senator Liu.
I agree with everything everyone said already. And you know, I'm a dad too.
Oh, word?
I'm a dad too. I'm just an older dad, but I'm still a dad. But I think Senator Gounardes and Assemblymember JGR have said it so well already. You know, I can only add that for a very long time, New York State has had some of the wealthiest people in the entire country, the world even. But we also have many working families who continue to struggle. And part of that has been our tax code. It has unfortunately helped widen the disparities between the rich and the working families. And so this working families tax credit is one way, a very solid way, to start correcting the historical inequities that were already present in our tax code. Long before this current affordability crisis, we have had to fix this situation. So we thank Governor Hochul for putting forward her proposal, but it doesn't go far enough. We need the working families tax credit enacted and enacted now. And let me also add another thing, that the working families tax credit will be a boon to the economy. Because unlike tax deductions that benefit high-income individuals, a tax credit for working families, you know where that money is going to be spent. It's going to be spent in the local neighborhood, in the groceries, at the doctor's offices, at the supermarkets. It's going to go right back into the local economy. It's not going to Bermuda. It's not going to Switzerland. It is going back into the local economy. So it will help strengthen our economy in New York State as a whole. So many reasons why we need this tax credit. Let's get it done now. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Liu. And then also from New York City, Assemblymember Manny de los Santos.
Thank you. I want to take this time to thank the advocates, the organization that are here today fighting the good fight and the working class family party. But a lot has been said today, and I agree with everything that has been said. But let's make one thing clear, that the working family tax credit is not just a title. It's more than just a title. It's a human right. It is a human right. If we're truly serious about uplifting our working class community, our undeserved community, if we're really serious about doing what's right, then let's take full advantage that we're here working on the budget to do exactly what's right. It is never too late to do what's right, to do the right thing. I am committed to do that. My colleagues in the Senate and the Assembly are committed to do exactly that. But the reality is that our working class family are struggling. When you consider other upcoming budget cuts, federal, citywide, that are happening, the family tax credit serves as a relief to working class family. Our children, if we're really serious about putting our children first, our family first, let's get this done now. This is about dignity. This is about respect. This is about human rights. This is about doing what's right for our community, our undeserved community of color. I am committed to do that. I call all my colleagues, not only in the Assembly, but in the Senate, to join this fight, to join this movement, to let's come together as a collective, as one, united, because together we can get the working class family done. We can. But it's going to take more than just words. It's going to take action. Are you committed to take action? Yes. Are you committed to take action? Yes. Are you committed to take this all the way on the budget? Yes. Are you committed to take this fight to the end? Yes. Even beyond April 1st? Yes. So if you're committed to do that, let's do it for our working class family. Let's do it for hardworking New Yorkers. Let's do it for our children. We have an obligation and opportunity to prove that we're here, that we as an elected, as activists, we are here to do the right thing. Right. If we are doing the right thing, let's make sure we speak the same language that are spoken in our working class community. Let's get this done, and let's champion the working class credit for our family who are the ones struggling and will continue to struggle unless we stand up for them. Let's get it done.
One more time for the Assembly member. One thing that we've heard here today is that this is not a New York City only issue. Can we say that? This is not a New York City only issue. This is a statewide issue. So I think that it is important to highlight the organizations that are outside of New York City as well. So with that, I would like to welcome up Jasmine from We Are Revolutionary.
I actually wrote something out again. My name is Jasmine Boyd. I'm a member of the Revolutionary. Hello. Again, I'm Jasmine Boyd. I myself, as being a single parent, I know the struggle is real. I work 9 to 5, and I still yet to make ends meet. The cost of living just keeps rising, even from childcare to where childcare is also hard. The cost of living keeps rising, but the support system that's supposed to help us, it actually keeps us down. The families shouldn't have to struggle. I personally feel if we're working 9 to 5. I feel that we should have the help as far as for childcare. We also lose out when, school is out. We lose out off of that because a lot of us, we can't, we have to call in because we have our children's cover as well. So, yes, this is something serious for us again. I'm a single mom struggling, and it's hard being a mother working 9 to 5. Again, like I said, I'm struggling every other day. I cannot even afford to pay for childcare. Groceries, that adds on. So it's like bills, again, every day the bills adds on. So yeah, it's hard. Yeah, sorry.
Listen, it's our collective responsibility to take care of our children and to take care of our families, and we have to get it done. It is unfortunate in New York that we have a crisis of poverty across the state. Like someone mentioned, we are the wealthiest state in the country, one of the wealthiest places in the world, yet we have abysmal child poverty numbers that we should absolutely be ashamed of. This is why this is a statewide issue, because it happens all the way from Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, to Capital District, Hudson Valley, New York City, and Long Island. Our children are struggling and live in poverty, and we need to change it, and we need to change it now. I welcome up Senator Rachel May to come give our remarks.
Thank you, Jasmine. Okay, so I represent the city of Syracuse. I am proud to represent Syracuse, but I am not proud that Syracuse, for the last 2 years, has topped the list that no city wants to even be on. We have the highest child poverty rates in the entire country. It is wrong, it is cruel, and it is destroying the lives of children in making it harder for kids to learn in school. They show up hungry to school. Many of them are homeless. We got a very disturbing statistic this year, which is, for the first time ever in central New York, the homeless population, there are more families with children who are homeless than there are single individuals who are homeless. For the first time. That ain't right. It means people are losing their homes because rents are rising and poverty is so high. So this will make a huge difference for the city of Syracuse. And as Senator Gounardes said, this is the way that we chart a path away from New York, topping these lists that none of our cities should be on. I want to also say, though, that I'm here as the chair of the Legislative Commission on Rural Resources, and rural poverty is increasing, rural homelessness is increasing. Families are suffering in rural New York as well, and this bill will help farming families, rural working class families that are struggling just to make ends meet. And I am proud that we are making this proposal. I am proud that we are actually, this bill aligns with what the governor's own poverty advisory council recommended. So we're just doing what her own policy advisors recommended, and we are going to get this done because it makes sense, it's fair, it is just right, and I can't wait to see this get in the budget and for our families, for my city of Syracuse to get off of that list and become a place where kids can thrive again. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Yes, the Working Families Tax Credit was in the governor's Child Poverty Task Force recommendations. That's one of the most impactful things we can do to reduce child poverty in New York. Next, we're going to hear from Assembly Member Dana Levenberg.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much to the Working Families Party for organizing this today with other members of this coalition. I represent the 95th Assembly District, which is parts of Westchester and Putnam. And yes, even though we're not exactly upstate, we are outside of New York City, lower Hudson Valley, and we do have high rates of poverty. I'm so excited that the governor's included universal school meals in the budget, but as we just heard from a mom who is trying to support her families, that's just when school's in session. We need to make sure that kids have food on the table every single day. We need to make sure that our families are healthy and that they get their needs met. And we know that the Working Families Tax Credit works. We heard before from Senator Gounardes, and we know that this worked during COVID, where we cut the child poverty rate in half. So with the Working Families Tax Credit, we're going to be able to cut the deep poverty by almost 25%, and poverty by 17%, child poverty, and that is, again, this is what we know can work, will work. So we have to do this, and I don't think that we should have to wait for another pandemic to actually prove that this works. Let's cut child poverty now. Again, we've heard again, we are in one of the richest states in the world. We need to do what is right for our families. We need to show that we can do this, and we need to put our money where our mouth is and make sure that our kids' mouths are filled with food. So let's do this right. Let's get the Working Families Tax Credit passed now. Thank you.
Thank you. As continuously stated, the Working Families Tax Credit affects all types of New Yorkers, all types of working families. So to help support the argument, I want to bring up Heather from PSC CUNY.
I was hiding way behind. Hello. Hello, I'm Heather James. I'm the legislative representative for the Professional Staff Congress of the City University of New York, which is the, woo, that's right, thank you, which is the faculty and staff union representing 30,000 faculty and professional staff of the City University of New York. Our families are working class families, right? We are union proud. Unions are the backbone of the working class. Our students come from working class families. We see them struggle every day, right, to get to class, to put their kids in childcare, to put food on the table. And plenty of our members have the same struggles. Many have said it, but we know the truth. The truth is that it's working class families and middle class families that are leaving New York City, leaving New York State because they cannot afford to stay here. That's why we wholeheartedly support this effort to get this tax credit that we all need. It makes sense. It's about basic fairness. It will keep people here. It will support our members and our students. We thank you so much. And someone asked, are you ready to get out there on the streets for this? Yeah. And we are ready to get out there on the streets for this because this is what's right. Thank you.
We appreciate PSC CUNY for all that they do to prepare New York's children in higher education. As a CUNY grad, always supportive of PSC CUNY being with us. Next, I'm going to bring up Assemblymember Steve Otis, followed by Assemblymember Chris Burdick.
Thank you, Jasmine. We all know what's going on in Washington right now, and what we know is working families are not going to benefit for what's afoot in Washington. There's fear over Social Security, there's fear over services, fear over Medicaid and Medicare. It is especially important that we provide working class tax benefits in this budget now. The governor has a proposal. We have a proposal here. I am optimistic we're going to work out differences and get a good bill passed. But here's the important thing. This bill really has the metrics and the benefits that will sustain families, provide real benefit to families quickly and on an ongoing basis in future years. This is the version we should pass. This is the version we're going to fight for in the budget process. Everyone's on board. Everyone in Albany is united that we need to do a working families tax credit. Let's do it right. Let's do it in a robust way that helps families, makes a real difference in the lives of families and especially children in poverty in this state. One last thing, we learned during COVID, when there was all this additional federal money in COVID, we were able to really do something with that money about childhood poverty in this state. That money has gone away. We need to do this tax credit. Thank you. We're together. We're going to get it done. Right, team?
Yes, appreciate you. Assemblymember Chris Burdick.
No, thank you. It's really an honor to be here. I'm Assemblymember Chris Burdick. I represent the 93rd Assembly District in Westchester County. And one of the things that you heard already is that this affects every corner of the state, every corner. The child poverty in the rural areas, in the cities, in the suburbs too. I represent a district that people think, well, you got a wealthy district, Chris, you know, what are you worried about? Well, I have distinct areas of poverty in my district. We need this help now. I have people who are saying to me with what is going on in Washington, what are we going to do? And my answer is, we are New Yorkers. We are going to forge ahead. We are going to represent and reaffirm our values. And there's nothing more important than reflecting those values in the budget. And the Working Families Tax Credit does exactly that. And it focuses it on the area that's needed most, which is children in poverty. This is an incredibly impactful investment that we absolutely must make. Are we going to get it done? Yeah. We're going to get it done. Thank you so much.
Cool. I want to bring up a steering committee member that has been very impactful in the analysis of the numbers and how there will be regional impacts, not New York City only impacts with the Working Families Tax Credit. So please welcome me in joining Pete Nabowski from the Children's Agenda.
Hi, everyone. My name is Pete Nabowski. I'm Director of Policy at the Children's Agenda in Rochester. Rochester is one of those communities that we've talked about throughout this press conference that struggles from abhorrently high child poverty rates, In most of the state, upwards of 1 in 5 children are living in poverty. In places like Rochester, and Buffalo, and Syracuse, and Schenectady, and the Bronx, and many other parts of our state, it's 2 in 5, sometimes almost half the kids in those communities are living in poverty. And when we talk about poverty, what are we talking about? We're talking about kids who are growing up without the resources that they need to thrive. And so that's a problem children today are facing, whether it's not having enough food, housing instability, not knowing where they're going to sleep next week or next month. It's also a problem for tomorrow. Those are kids who are struggling in school. If you have an empty stomach, you have a real hard time learning math or learning how to read. And so we're setting our state back today, and we're setting our state back in the future by allowing so many children to grow up with such hardship. I'm also an appointee to the Child Poverty Reduction Advisory Council. And as we were working through recommendations, what do we want to see? What could New York do to reduce child poverty? We had a number of principles of things that we identified. We wanted to make sure that the most benefit went to the children who need it the most. We wanted to make sure that every child in New York was covered, regardless of immigration status. We wanted to make sure that children of all ages, including our 17-year-olds who, they consume a lot of food, they consume a lot of resources, those families need help too. We looked at a whole number of different things. We wanted to make sure that as we were designing a child tax credit expansion for New York State, that it didn't harm families that were just above a threshold. So the minute that parent gets $1 an hour raise or gets a couple extra hours to work, they don't lose all those benefits. The working family tax credit checks all of these boxes and then some. It's a wonderfully designed credit. It's targeted. It's helping families who need it the most, and it's what New York should do in our budget this year. So thanks so much to all these advocates for being here today. Thanks so much for all these lawmakers for supporting this legislation, and let's get it done this year. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Assemblymember Anna Kellis.
I've been thinking a lot about what government is supposed to be. And what government is supposed to be, we have a social contract as society. We have shared resources to make sure that everybody has a basic quality of life. And what government is meant to do is to say, okay, for those people who, being a little bit extra greedy, government says, we're going to have to balance this out. We need to create some equity. We're going to take a little bit here, and we're going to rebalance it. And we're going to take that and we're going to put it into social services to make sure that we've got a balance of support. We make sure that everybody has access to quality education. We make sure that everybody has access to quality housing. We make sure that everybody has food. We make sure that everybody has access to workforce training. Because there are some people, the very, very, very wealthy, that game the system, continue to take more and more and more and more, and make sure that the system stays unbalanced so that the rest of us cannot live our basic quality of life. But it also bankrupts government from being able to create equity. And what we're seeing at the federal level is that there is a president that is bought by those wealthy people, that is bankrupting government. And what is he doing? He is sucking the funding out of those very programs that rebalances, that says to all of those wealthy people, no, you can't suck dry the system. You can't be parasites. You can't break the system. We've got to create equity again. He is breaking those programs. He is breaking Head Start. He is breaking SNAP. He is breaking education. He is breaking child care. He is breaking workforce development. He is breaking working class families. And what we are saying with the workforce tax credit is that New York State is not going to let that happen. New York State, absolutely. That New York State is not going to let our children go to school hungry. New York is going to recognize that we have one shot to feed our children when their brains are developing, because that will set the stage for the rest of their lives. All of the children right now that we invest in, those are our future. And if we don't do that now, then that is our future workforce That is what we will be crippling for generations. And we are saying we will not let that happen in New York. We are recognizing what they're doing at the federal level, and we are stopping it here and saying no. So the workforce tax credit is the way to do it, because what it will do is make sure that that money gets into people's pockets every single quarter. Doing it once a year is not going to do it. You can't say to a family, I will feed you my daughter, but wait 4 months, wait a year. I will pay my bills, but I'm gonna have to make everybody wait a year. No, that does not work. We have to pay them regularly. We have to make sure that they are paid enough, because paying a family $500 for the entire family, we know that is not enough. We have to pay for every single child, and we are saying it is worth it. It is an investment that is worth it, and it will pay dividends for the future. Thank you, everybody. Let's get this done, the Working Family Tax Credit. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. That was amazing. I want to welcome up from United Neighborhood Houses, Tyra Klein.
Thank you. How we doing? Hanging in there? Great. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Tara Klein. I'm the Deputy Director of Policy and Advocacy at United Neighborhood Houses, which is an association of settlement houses in New York State. And we've been fighting for the Working Families Tax Credit for a long time now. Last year, we were here to present some research that we did with Educational Alliance that surveyed over 1,000 families in the Settlement House network in New York and showed the impact of the federal child tax credit on families. Not surprisingly, it lifted people out of poverty. And then we surveyed those same families to see the impact when those credits went away. And we found that families were struggling. They were living paycheck to paycheck to try and meet their basic needs. 4 out of every 10 parents surveyed said they often or always ran out of cash in the last 6 months. So these were not surprising but upsetting findings. Cash assistance through tax credits helps lift people out of poverty, and when those benefits go away, financial insecurity gets deeper. And that's why we support the Working Families Tax Credit. It helps fight growing financial hardship, food insecurity, housing insecurity, and much more. And so it's great that Governor Hochul this year has prioritized these child tax credits through increasing the Empire State Child Credit. This is a significant first step, but we can do a lot better, and that's why we're continuing to fight for the Working Families Tax Credit this year. I'm gonna get a little wonky on everybody for just a minute so we know what we're fighting for here and why the Working Families Tax Credit is better. So the Empire State Child Credit now is currently a max of $330 a month. The governor's proposal is a max of $1,000 for children under 4 and $500 for children ages 4 through 16. The Working Families Tax Credit brings that up to a maximum of $1,600 per child. Under the Working Families Tax Credit, there's stable payments throughout a child's life. There's a steep drop-off under the governor's proposal when a child turns age 4. The Working Families Tax Credit critically includes the Earned Income Tax Credit, so income-eligible families, including ITIN filers, are able to get the credit. The governor's just focuses on the Empire State Child Credit. It ends a phase-in where the lowest income families don't get anything, ensures that the lowest income families get the highest credit. We're almost done. It includes 17-year-olds. The governor's proposal does not. It is indexed to inflation every year. It provides quarterly payments so families can budget reliably throughout the year. And overall, it'll simplify the tax code. And really importantly, the Working Families Tax Credit is permanent. The governor's expires after 3 years, as we saw in budget language. And so this is why we support the credit. 34 organizations sent a letter to Governor Hochul earlier this month calling for a bold, innovative policy to support families this year with the Working Families Tax Credit. It's really simple. It's about putting money back in the pockets of families who need it most. So thank you very much. Thank you to all the elected officials and advocates who are here. All right.
Next, we'll have newly elected Assemblywoman from Albany, Gabriela Romero.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gabriela Romero, and I was just elected to the 109th Assembly District. Thank you. Yeah. And before I was in the New York State Assembly, I was a public defender here in the city of Albany. And I spent 6 years there representing people that weren't able to afford their own attorney after they were charged with a crime. And it comes at no surprise that I was radicalized by that experience. Because it showed me that the government and governmental systems weren't working for working families. And I'm here to do something about that. With so many other supporters here, it's awesome to see so many other organizations and other elected officials. We're here at a time of crisis. We're here at an affordability crisis at a time where our governmental systems are clearly not working for people. And it's hard for people to afford groceries and rent and utilities and childcare. And we need to put more money in the pockets of families because they're struggling to get by. We know that the funds from the tax credit are used overwhelmingly for food and clothing and rent and utilities, the things that they need, the necessities. So consolidating this credit and giving to them 4 times a year will absolutely make a massive difference for our working families across New York State. We need to do something about it. We need to pass it this year. Let's pass this thing. Let's do it.
Join me in welcoming up another Assembly member who does not fight on one type of New Yorker, but all types of New Yorkers, Assemblymember Tony Simone.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning. I want to give a round of applause to the Working Families Party and all the advocates here today for all your amazing work. I'm Assemblymember Tony Simone. I represent the West Side of Manhattan. I grew up in a working class family. The strength of our democracy depends on the role of government and ensuring that the middle class is strong and vibrant. The goal right now of the idiot in the White House, the scum that pretends he's a leader, is to destroy government. He wants to convince Americans that government does not function. He's got his buddy Elon, his boss man, telling him what to do, wants to convince the average American that government simply cannot work. Our role is to convince Americans that we can deliver through government. That's what our party and progressives stand for. That's what Working Families Party stands for. We cannot lose sight of that. We can't be scared of that. We need to make sure those who can afford to pay their fair share do, so that the families don't leave New York State. Folks keep leaving New York State not because high income taxes on them, it's because the middle class can't feed their kids. It's because they can't afford to rent or buy a home. We have to solve those problems. The working class tax credit begins to solve that problem. When Washington, before they dropped the ball, and now they're dropping tons of balls, when they passed the child tax credit, child poverty was reduced by a huge percentage, which I'm forgetting at this point. But this will ensure a family of 2, someone who works in retail, or a husband who's a janitor who has 2 kids, a toddler, up to $3,200 back a year. That makes a huge difference. They'll be able to pay their rent. They'll be able to buy groceries. We need to start delivering if we actually are going to have folks realize that we're for them, that government actually works for them. While the other guy and his liars are trying to convince people that government is evil and has abandoned you so he can create chaos and reconstruct it like any other autocrat would do, we need to stand up for the people. We are the party of the people, the average working American, average working New Yorker. So let's start by passing the working class tax credit.
And like we said, this is a statewide issue, and even in Long Island, there are children living in poverty, and we need to help them out. We welcome Assemblymember Noah Burrows.
Thank you. Good afternoon. And I'm going to echo some of the sentiments of some of my former colleagues, or my colleagues, and just say, obviously first, I am Noah Burrows from Long Island, 18th Assembly District, and our country right now, it is at a crossroad. And you have an individual who I like to call Trusk, because that Donald Trump is not the president, it's Elon Musk. So we have to watch out for the two of them, because what they're trying to do is feed fuel to lies to the people in the community and actually make them think that they have your best interests at heart. So they'll take away things. They'll take away our salt. The working families tax credit is something that they don't want to give people because they see it as an optimal hindrance to what they want to do. They want to continue to say that they're taking away government overspending, but they'll take in charge the working class and they'll give more tax break to their billionaire buddies. Yes. And so we are here to fight against that. And the working families tax credit, it means a big difference, $1,200 versus a $5,000 check that could really help working families. It seems like in this country, the more you make, the harder you struggle. And when you're in the middle or low to middle, it's even more difficult. So championing something like this is something that's very, very easy for me to do, and that's why I'm here to support it. And that's what we all got to do, support the working family tax credit. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. I want to welcome up Anthony Capote from the Immigration Research Initiative.
Good afternoon, everyone. As we all know, Governor Kathy Hochul recently proposed an expansion of the Empire State Child Credit, and it's a great start, but we can absolutely do better for working families in New York. The governor's proposal would only provide, on average, $530 to about 17% of New York families. The working family tax credit would provide a much larger credit, on average about $1,200 to 23% of New York families. That's almost 1 in 4 New York families. New Yorkers deserve better solutions, long-term solutions to issues like affordability and child poverty, and the working family tax credit offers exactly that. Instead of putting a Band-Aid on this issue for just 3 years, we deserve long-term sustainable solutions that are going to put more dollars in the pockets of more New York families. We can do better. Thank you.
Assemblymember Steve Raga.
Thanks so much. It's great to see all the advocates, elected officials, and community leaders here. We know that New York State has to invest in our working families, and they need to do it now. And we've noticed all the people have already said, we have a government and elected leaders in every level of government who are not just not working for the people, but they're actively working against the people. And we have a fix right here. We can give the working people of New York tax credits where they can go and buy groceries, pay their rent, every other necessity that we need to live here in 2025. And it is so empowering. It's great to see that elected and community leaders from all across the state, upstate, downstate, every corner of New York, here acknowledging how much this could save communities, save families. We can't keep losing New Yorkers to other states. We can't have friends and family and neighbors moving to New York, to New Jersey. I wouldn't wish moving to New Jersey on my enemies. So we can't have those closest to us leaving here, the great state of New York. And here I know in 2025, with all of our power, our initiative, all communities from all across the corners of the state, I know 2 things. We are going to pass the working families tax credit. That's number 1. And number 2, if anybody asked, I was here with the other New York State Assembly members earlier, so I wasn't hearing that. So we're going to make sure that we're going to get this done. Our New York State families need this, and we're going to make sure that we deliver for them this year. Thanks, everybody. Let's get this done.
We thank everyone for joining us. We had a parent, Ashley Smith, who was going to speak, but she's running around with a toddler. So we're going to wrap up now. We know that this is the year to get it done. We know that childcare costs, the cost of housing, the cost of groceries, the cost of utility bills are absolutely ridiculous. And we have to help working families, and we can put real money in their pockets. We don't need half-assed solutions. We need bold solutions. And we need Governor Hochul to step up and pass a bold solution like the working families tax credit this year. Woo.
Yeah, clap that up. I just want to say on behalf of the New York Immigration Coalition, thank you again to every single community member, to every single community organization, to every elected official that has helped us thus far for this legislative session. I also want to say to all New Yorkers that remember that this tax credit is for all types of New Yorkers, not just New York City, not just a single type of family. All families matter. So please help us to pass the Working Families Tax Credit this legislative session. Thank you.